millions of Americans are bracing for a potentially catastrophic ice storm from New Mexico to the Carolinas. The monster storm is wreaking havoc across the United States, affecting up to 240 million Americans, more than half of the U.S. population. The storm has also led to the cancellation of at least 14,000 flights over the weekend, knocked out power and snarled major roadways with dangerous ice. Around 120,000 power outages were reported in the path of the winter storm, including about 50,000 each in Texas and Louisiana. The National Weather Service forecast widespread heavy snow, sleet and freezing rain till Monday. And we're now being joined by Sudhanshu Kaushik, who's an executive director in Center for Youth Policy. He's joining us from Washington, D.C. Sudhanshu, tell us about the current situation in Washington, D.C. in light of the snowstorm.
Thanks for having me. Look, it's pretty frigid right now. There's basically very few people on the street. It's starting to snow a little, but overall, it's just I think there's a lot of preparedness that's gone. Normally, it's a Saturday night. You'll see this entire kind of street partitioned off, and there's games going on. There's a lot of excitement going on. But right now, there's a few cars. I'm standing in front of the Smithsonian, and it is cold. It's not the coldest we've seen it, but it's again expected to really get worse post 1 a.m. And throughout all of Saturday night, Sunday morning, and well into Sunday morning. I think that's when it's supposed to get really, really bad.
Right, Sudhanshu, and what are the measures that are being taken by the authorities? What are the arrangements that have been made?
Look, I mean, this is one of the best preparednesses that I've seen across the United States, but here in DC, disaster management has been out. We've been getting notifications on our phones, on our emails, work, school, classes. They've been canceled or shifted online. Sorry, it's getting a little snowy, but basically, it's been quite extensively prepared. They've also made sure to salt all the roads. They've also made to have as much preparedness as possible. The biggest concern right now is obviously going to be about when it gets cold, sleet, rain, ice. We're expected to have power outages. So they're trying to see how we can prevent that. But I would say that I think the preparedness for the snowstorm has been incredibly top notch.
Right, Sudhanshu, and we're learning that 16 states, there has been a state of emergency that has been declared in 16 states in the United States. Tell us more about that. Which are the worst affected states due to this snowstorm?
I think, look, this snowstorm is massive. It impacts all the Central Plains, so your Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri. It goes up to North Dakota, South Dakota, and then it spreads out all the way to New York and the eastern seaboard. I mean, this is a massive snowstorm in terms of its just vastness and covering the United States. Like you said, 16 states, but these are 16 very large parts. I mean, the United States is massive. It's almost 3 to 4 times larger than than India, right? So these states are also pretty loud too.
Right, and Sudhanshu, do we know about the timing? When is the winter storm going to hit the parts of United States, particularly Washington, D.C.?
So look, the snowstorm is hit, right? It's there are 3 to 4 or 5 inches already in Kansas City and those parts of the plains. It's starting to snow here as well, but the most of the brunt will actually come in later at night and well into the morning. And that's when you're expected to really see the 5, 6, 7 inches and accumulate all over into Sunday morning.
And Sudhanshu, how unusual is it for a single winter storm to, affect 40% of the population in the United States?
Um, It's huge. Very seldom times do we get such a massive snowstorm to like cover, again, 40% of the United States that you're saying, or 16 states. I don't think that it's, historic in terms of the first time ever. I think that we've had lots of snowstorms and blizzards. The thing is that due to climate change, the frequency of the blizzards, of these vast snowstorms, has decreased. Now, I'm saying the frequency, but the intensity of it, has obviously been exponentially increased. So when we're thinking about these 40% of the United States, when we're thinking about 16 states, It's a huge deal. And I think that's why the United States is prepared. Everyone is kind of on red alert. They've asked homeless people to take shelter, etc. So there's been a lot of preparedness for this.
Right. So, Danshu, you mentioned about the preparedness, how well prepared the authorities are, particularly in Washington. But what about the rural areas? Because we're also learning that there are massive power outages across the United States.
Look, the power outages are going to affect rural and urban America the same, right? So if the power goes out here in DC, I mean, it's going to affect DC proper, right? Yeah, of course, it's a little bit more complicated in terms of the logistics and the infrastructure in rural America. And the problem is how long it takes for the power to get back up, right? You've got a limited amount of people, you've got a limited amount of infrastructure to be able to get the power back up when the snowstorm hits, etc. So it is an issue of just like logistics and complications.
All right, Sudhanshu, thank you so much for getting us all those details right from the ground from Washington, D.C., where the storm is about to hit. But remember, the winter storm has already hit parts of the United States. 16 states, a state of emergency has been declared in 16 states in view of the winter storm in United States, which is affecting 40% of the population of the state. So that was the situation in Washington, D.C. In fact, Sudhanshu Kaushik was mentioning about how well prepared the authorities are in view of the winter storm, and measures have been taken by the authorities, and it's going to get worse in Washington, D.C. It's still manageable currently, but there are parts of the United States that have been severely impacted. We're showing you the visuals of Texas, how it looks like currently in Kansas. Also, the storm has already hit 16 states. Remember, a state of emergency has been declared, and this amounts to 40% of the U.S. population. So 40% of the US population is impacted due to this historic winter storm that has hit the United States. These are the visuals from the United States of how it looks due to the snowstorm, the ice storm. And these visuals are from Texas. Remember, in Texas, in Kansas, the winter storm has already hit, and we also showed you how it looks like in the Washington, D.C., where the situation is currently manageable, but it is expected that the situation will worsen later in the day.